Hi, I'm Pat Treadway, and I'm making this video because I'm concerned about our country at what I think is a critical juncture in its history. At this time, our government seems to be more of a hindrance than a help, which makes the problem worse. We not only face a recession, global recession with the rest of the world, we also must compete with the rest of the world, which is a longer-term problem. Largely because of our own success in two world wars and the Cold War and leadership since that time. We've had the most dynamic country on earth now for 200 years. It's vibrant and creative, as evidenced by our Nobel laureates, our impact on world culture and science and technology. Our government, however, has not been as dynamic as our country has. Everything around us has changed during those 200 years. Our government remains remarkably the same. And even though it's been more stable than most other governments, at times it has not been, our government structure has not been enough to save us from major crisis. The Civil War would be one example of this. I think we're moving into a time where it's going to, we're going to have another crisis. We face historic decisions. We tend to emphasize our division into many different groups and focus on negative images and information in our political process. We're dominated politically by increasingly by a professional class of handlers that are expert in manipulating public opinion. And we've developed this expertise more so than an expertise in being able to craft important solutions to the problems that we face. Problems that are, in my opinion, are only going to be more challenging in the future. Our system tends to shield us from these different groups from each other, so much so that our ability to formulate common positions that might be useful for setting public policy are discouraged. Our system actually tends to work against positions taken by the majority, and sometimes even when majority opinions are found, they're struck down by the court system. The court has primacy over the people in some cases. We have a long tradition of individuality, which I don't think many of us would want to give up. We don't need to agree on all things. There are some things that we do need to agree on, however. Things like laws, roads, schools, the economy, military, etc. These are areas where we have to have some common positions. One way to reach common positions that's the most agreeable, in my opinion, is democracy. Our system sometimes tends to show disdain for democracy, even though it's found in the preamble of our Declaration of Independence. The term "we the people" may have been relegated to a revered myth that we keep under a glass in a museum. We only have one office as a nation that we elect as a single people, and we do that indirectly through the Electoral College. Most people don't realize that the American people never in its history has actually voted directly for the Constitution itself. And no one has voted for it in any manner in public terms for the 223 years now that have passed since its acceptance. One thing is true here, and that's that if rules are not made by the majority, they'll be made for the majority by some minority. We should protect our minorities. That's certainly one of the reasons why our system is what it is. But I believe that there should be some place somewhere for some level of democracy, especially when we're so confounded by our inability to agree on anything and we face serious national problems. Okay, do we honor our forefathers better by living within the prescribed means that they left us and never moving beyond them, or by acting as they acted and finding better solutions to the problems that we face now and in the future? I believe that, at this time when government is faltering in the people's work and in dealing with their problems, it's the right time to ask these kinds of questions. I have a vision of a living democracy that continues in its own greatness. I believe that it can be found in us as a people, not as a parade of ruling personalities that constantly participate in their mutual self-destruction. Rather, I think we should be finding common values that we can all agree on, and it's possible, I believe, to determine this in a rational, orderly, and safe way. That is a product of the will of the majority of the people. And we can do this without tearing apart our own traditions. Democracy as a working concept seems to me to have been discarded in practical terms. We can and should decide on our common will in some form, in some way. We can and should take charge of our own destiny and take charge of its outcome in areas of common interest. I believe that the world will pass us by ultimately if we don't manage to compete effectively, and that this involves not only economics, technology, but also politics and government. I think that democracy should have a place in the country, in a country that claims to be one. If the people, if the people's government cannot or will not lead the people, I believe the people should lead the government. I believe that right now we choose rulers as a people, albeit indirectly, rather than the principles that guide our government and therefore our lives. We need to use the same brain trust that has led the world since World War II, and that did things like create the light bulb, develop the internet, and land the first man on the moon. I believe that government should be responsible to the people, and that it should not just be responsible to those with many and loud voices. The world is catching up to us, and if we don't respond, we will soon lose the position of leadership that we've held now for the last 60 plus years. I would like to find out if other people feel the same way that I do. I think something should be done about it. I think practical ways should be found to deal with these things. My name is Pat Treadway. I'm just a guy from West Covina, California. I'm concerned about my country. If you feel likewise and would like to explore more ideas, respond to this video. Thank you.